Well, I've already got two watching. That's Caleb and Noah. Glad to see y'all here. Welcome to Parchment Valley Baptist Convention Center. Present. Sorry for the messy look. We just got done with sectionals and full band. It's been a hot day, hot past couple days, and the rain that came through the other day was wild to say the least. So we're tired, but figured we have a 2 hour break built into the schedule. I figured I'd take about half an hour, just do some reading. I'm finishing up my study of Ecclesiastes, and since I've got time, might as well study it a little bit. I've got my Bible right here off to the side. Thought that just shave your head bald is beautiful and cool. Nah, full beard and a nice head of hair is my personal look, Noah. But if you want to join along, I'm reading the last two chapters of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11 and 12. They're pretty short. Chapter 11 is only 10 verses. Chapter 12 is only 14. Might be taking notes, might not. For the most part, Ecclesiastes just feels like I did some research on it, and there's not too much debate on who wrote Ecclesiastes. It's pretty well commonly believed it was Solomon. So in that case, it feels like a recap of Proverbs. And Caleb, I know we're doing Proverbs on Wednesday nights, and since I won't be there tomorrow, I'll try to do my best to catch up. If you remind me what chapter we're on, that'd be appreciated. But Ecclesiastes just feels like a recap of the book of Proverbs, but at the same time, it feels like it expands on maybe just like a few topics, mostly on the concept of vanity, foolishness, and folly. Which is ironic that we talked about that because when I taught the teens at the Nazarene Church last week, we were in 2 Samuel, 1 Samuel, one of the Samuels, and it was I called it the burden of foolishness. So, but either way, we're in Ecclesiastes chapter 11. Before that, we do have a verse of the day. I never not do a verse of the day. This one comes out of Psalms 55, verse 22, reading out of the New Revised Standard Version. And it says, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved." So again, Psalms 55, 22, coming out of the New Revised Standard. But today, for my reading, still rocking my old Schofield King James. I love this Bible. It's become my primary reading Bible here lately. But once I get through Ecclesiastes, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to jump into next. But we're going to read Ecclesiastes, and we're going to be again in chapters 11 and 12. So here we go. "Cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. Give a portion to 7, and also to 8, for thou knowest not what evil shall be upon the earth. If the clouds be full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if a tree fall towards the south, or towards the north, in the place where the tree falleth, there it shall be. He that observeth the wind shall not sow, and he that regardeth the clouds shall not reap. As thou knowest not what is the way of the Spirit, nor how the bones do grow in the womb of her that is with child, even so thou knowest not the works of God who maketh all. In the morning sow thy seed, and in the evening withhold not thine hand, for thou knowest not whether shall prosper, either this or that, or whether they both shall be alike good. Truly the light is sweet, and a pleasant thing is for the eyes to behold the sun. But if a man live many years, and rejoice in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they shall be many. All that cometh is vanity. Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thy heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thine heart, and in the sight of thine eyes. But know thou that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment. Therefore remove sorrow from thine heart, and put away evil from thy flesh, and for childhood and youth are vanity. We're having missions night tomorrow. Sorry, Caleb. I don't know if you've watched these that often. If I don't see your comment, there's about a 15-second delay in these. All right, chapter 12. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return unto the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of the music shall be brought low. Also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fears shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be burdened, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets, or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. I think that's how you pronounce it. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed, and sought out, and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written upon upright, even words of truth. The word of the wise are as goads, and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from the shepherd. And further, by these, my son, be admonished, and making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God, and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment, and every secret thing, where it be good, or whether it be evil. Ecclesiastes really centers around this theme of vanity. And if I could count how many times the King James uses the word vanity, and any other translation uses that word vanity over and over. And chapter 1 in the Schofield Bible actually renders it part 1, the theme, all is vanity. So in that sense of how we think of life, everything's going to come to an end. Everything that we know, love. The Bible says, from ashes you come, ashes you shall return. We're guaranteed two things in life, death and taxes. If we're guaranteed death, we can look at life as this, what's the point? And it kind of points out all of these things you do in your daily life, what's the point? And Ecclesiastes, it's kind of rhetorical when it talks about how these things relate to your walk, how these things relate to your relationship with God, and are you doing them for the right reasons? And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And not in the sense of well, then why do it? You shouldn't be doing things from your day-to-day life without purpose, and you shouldn't be doing things in your day-to-day life without reverence to God. I get up and I go teach. I should do it with a purpose and a mindset that God gave me the gift to teach, and that there's purpose behind it, all right? And whether that's purpose that I've put forth or purpose that God has put forth. And this idea of vanity being just such a repeated like endless concept within this book. It's pretty short, only 12 chapters. It goes through this all the time, and it keeps bringing it up at certain moments that make you think, that just remind you, oh, by the way, this is that. And I didn't actually expect myself to go too deep in this. And actually, what I'm probably going to do is I did Ecclesiastes all out of the King James, and there are some things that I just quite didn't understand. But this being a more word for word translation and that old school 1611 English, I really want to restudy this in two different ways. And that is through a more of a thought for thought translation, something like out of the Christian Standard, and then go into it kind of like in the scholarly realm, using like the New Revised or my English Standard Archaeology, and just see how things can be broken down, things can be expanded upon. But then again, it is pretty straightforward. Excuse me, long day already. It's pretty straightforward, and I never. It was one of those books that I never really jumped into initially, but it talks about like here in chapter 6, verse 1, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and is common among men. This talks about how all of this stuff applies to everybody. This book is not just written for one particular person and for us to learn a lesson from. This is one of those books in the Bible that it is just a blanket statement amongst everybody. We all do this. In Romans, it talks about for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. There's no book that really expands more upon that than the book of Ecclesiastes. We're all foolish. We all do things for our own benefit. And at the end of the day, what does it get us? Yeah, you may wake up the next day richer than you were. Cool. You may wake up the next day and you're not. But at the end of your life, where do you go? You go in the ground. Okay, just like every other man. The rich die and are buried. The poor die and are buried. Ecclesiastes it's not a doom and gloom book, but it is a book that it makes you sit and remind yourself, hey, we're all in this together in terms of how we are viewed. And at the end of it all breaks down in the fact that I love how this is the concluding two verses. Verse 13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. No matter what you do in life, no matter what your responsibilities are, at the end of the day, fear God, keep his commandments. We're doing the 10 Commandments in church. And if you are to fear God, and fear meaning obey him, do what he's asked you to do, and love him, and then keep his commandments. And if you fear God and love God, you will keep his commandments. That's why that's the second part. Fear God, love, keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. This is what we are meant to do. Yeah, this has been a good study. I didn't expect this episode of Translation Tuesday to go extremely crazy. I'm actually sitting. I wanted to show you guys outside my door right here. So I'll grab my secondary cam and show y'all. This is the view from outside of my room. That's where we have band rehearsal. Try to get you out there. So there to your left, just beyond that building right there, is our rehearsal field. We eat breakfast over there in that red barn, and there's a gymnasium. You can kind of see the front of it a little bit. That's where we have most of our afternoon rehearsals. We rehearse in this field over here. Kids are up in cabins just beyond us. But this is our area. I'm not having Translation Tuesday out there because it feels much nicer in my room, my state house, than it does outside. So yeah. But band camp is tearing us up already. It's only Tuesday, so for the Caleb, I know you remember band camp, but band camp where we went to high school is nothing like what we do. But even in times of working with students and stuff, still find time to keep myself present in the Word. So thank you guys for tuning in. I know several people have said that they will watch this episode after the fact. I know it's a little less upbeat, a little less in depth than we're used to, but I'm tired. But I still wanted to get this out there, and just maybe have this will be a little bit regenerating. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys next week on Translation Tuesday.